You ever had one of those days which was such an emotionally intense roller coaster that by the end of it you find yourself physically exhausted? Because that's exactly what happened to me. So much so that I had to skip out on my plan of going to basketball and the movies. Instead, I didn't go to either because I knew I was just going to collapse. So, my remedy is to do more work, which will somehow make me feel better about it. But this video has been overdue for some time because Donphan has been a serious part of DPP for a couple of years now. But it took a while, it wasn't quite an overnight thing. Now, I would like to brag / be validated / get revenge of sorts on people who made fun of me a long time ago, because at the very end of 2012 I was in Smoke and Tour finals and I played McMegan and I brought a Donphan and everyone laughed, ha ha ha, this guy brought Donphan, what is this idiot thinking? Even though the Donphan performed well in the battle itself, then it was like, oh, this guy shot himself in the foot bringing it to Smoke and Tour finals. It was what an idiot. I thought maybe I'd be vindicated someday because I like Donphan. I brought it for a reason. I didn't have a moment of last-minute panic. It worked. It worked in the battle, but then again, people like to laugh at things they don't understand. There's your life lesson for today. Anyway, so it wasn't until that was back on Pokemon Online, before there were even Showdown replays. So it wasn't until this battle from February 2nd, 2020, between Babidi 1998, aka Heist, and Hyoga Fodex, where Donphan appears on the big stage in DPP in a serious game. And this is a major innovation because Donphan had been theorized for some time, but nobody had taken the plunge and really used it. And what's really interesting here is not just the innovation of Protect on Donphan, because, Protect makes everything good, pretty much, but the fact that it's being used on what's otherwise a pretty standard bulky offense team, just in terms of Pokemon, because the idea previously was, oh, Donphan's a weird kind of Pokemon, you have to use it on weird teams, but no, this is just a Gyarados bulky offense, a Choice Band Gyarados spamming Waterfall, and Gyarados bulky offense is, very present, of course, CB or DD alike, without spin and with spin, but previously you would have to use Starmie. Now, Gyarados Starmie was a part of very, very many... Oh, hang on, I'm getting a phone call. One sec. Okay, I'll call my buddy back. It was about the movie. Yeah, and we would get into it for a while, so... I thought he would call me tomorrow because it's late, but okay, so... Yes, Donphan... Yeah, Gyarados and Starmie, and they're fine, of course, but Starmie has its limitations. The whole pursuit of it all, which plagues it so often, makes it so exploitable. And so Donphan offers a more reliable spin in that it can't be pursued, of course, and it heals in sand. And it also offers your team real stability against Tyranitar. So, like, you see how on Babidi's team here, then you have a Stealth Rocking Jirachi. This makes it more vulnerable to T-Tar. Now, if you had a kind of Gyara bulky offense team like the one he's using, and it was Gyara, Jirachi, Rotom, Starmie, T-Tar last, whatever it is, like a Scarf Heatran or something, you would be obliterated by... it can be Heatran, it can be a fighting type, Breloom's possible, Lucario, Infernape, even Machamp. But really, Scarf Heatran was very, very popular on that kind of thing. Even if you had a Scarf Rotom, excuse me. Oh, I really gotta sleep early tonight. Yeah. Okay, so whatever the final Pokemon is here, it's going to be a wall breaker of some kind, right? Yeah, excuse me. I'm really going through it. Anyway, so with that kind of team, you would want Metagross over Jirachi as the Rocking Steel Psychic because you want the extra security against T-Tar. Great, okay, fine. especially if it's lefties. But that has its own limitations. Sometimes you want Jirachi's greater speed, and greater flexibility in dealing with things like Suicune, or opposing fighters, which you can never be too safe against. And sometimes Metagross's lower speed will hold you back. So the flexibility of Donphan is really, really crucial in letting you run since it is your T-Tar counter, that slot is freed up. Or, you can run things like a Scarf Heatran as your cleaner and not worry about getting cleaned up by DD Tar, as Scarf Heatran teams must take extra care to do. And just the physically defensive backbone in general is great. Like a Flygon comes out right here. And even if you do have Metagross as a more physically defensive Pokemon, it's still not a counter to Flygon by any stretch of the imagination. You could use Bronzong, but Bronzong is not nearly as good into Tyranitar. So Donphan's physically defensive integrity is just huge for... Yeah, I'm really sorry about this. For reinforcing your team against these big hitters, whatever they may be. So Heist Blast does wind up being a wall breaker, a Dragonite, and even though it's a DD sweeper, it is still going to be a potentially great wall breaker. And you notice that with Gara and D-Knight, he's got the 2 Stealth Rock weeks. Now with Starmie, it's possible, but much riskier, especially because these Stealth Rock weeks are not exactly, solid T-Tar switch-ins. Plus the Starmie that's not a good switch-in, plus your own T-Tar, which is hardly a reliable answer. So you see how, even if you do have the reliable spin of Starmie, you very quickly get a... Oh, God, I have more text to respond to. Okay. You have more of a... Let me just take a second, rather than start over. Okay, everything's fine. You have a real true T-Tar answer, and that frees you up to run your most threatening offense, as opposed to, having to compromise on your offense because you're also trying to sneak some T-Tar checking in there. To say nothing of the fact that the spin is more reliable by virtue of a lot of anti-spin counterplay being Pursuit the Starmie, which is important for not just hazards, but enabling a lot of Pokemon like Heatran and Infernape as well. But you get the idea. Donphan you're not pursuing, and you're not even wearing it down because it heals with rocks. And the biggest thing, it's not just entering on T-Tar, it is entering against physical Jirachi, because it doesn't resist Iron Head, but it is insanely physically bulky. And with that, then you are able to switch into 2 of the most common physical attackers and threaten Rapid Spin. So this team was really, really huge in anticipating a lot of what would come in a few years. It would be a few years. Heist was famous... Whoa, sorry for the battle volume. Heist was famous for being ahead of his time. At the time, people would say, oh, that wacky Heist and his wacky ideas. Then a few years later, people realize, hey, that's actually a really good idea. Of course, you would say, oh, so Donphan bulky offense took over the tier? Not quite. It's certainly very possible to run Donphan bulky offense, but people just realized how good Donphan's skill set was in general. Because when Gen 4 was the current gen, then Donphan was like a noob trap. It'd be like that UU... Funnily enough, it occupied the same role in Gen 5 a lot of the time. It was better in Gen 5, generally, but a lot of people saw it that way. But yeah, people would see Donphan, less experienced players would see Donphan and go, oh, well, this is good, and then they would have circles run around them because they thought it countered everything, and it didn't really. But then people, once Heist experimented with it like this, then a couple years later, it is 2023, April 23rd. Jirachi's DPP Invitational has just begun. And Crystal is playing Gilbert Arenas, a.k.a. Markop. And Crystal brings Donphan. And you realize... Well, also Machamp. But Donphan on a very unusual Machamp team. I don't really think we really saw another one like it. But basically, this kicked off Donphan's usage. Like one of the defining traits of Jirachi's tournament was that people suddenly it was like this was the overnight aspect. Now even the overnight aspect, must accept that what was laid in place for it to become successful overnight came way before. It wasn't just like nobody ever thought of Donphan before and then suddenly now it's fine. But yeah, it was almost overnight in that Crystal used it, and then a few days later more players, good players. You could say, oh, well, Crystal is a DPP aficionado and she knows what she's doing, so she's going to dig for the underrated picks. But, it very quickly went from, underrated pick to, kind of good player secret to not really being a secret because it was out in the open. This wasn't something, to my knowledge anyway, that was, being cooked in a lab for a while because it wasn't like, the tournament started and suddenly everyone was eager to use their Donphan. It was Crystal using this team. And then a few days later, once the players who had yet to play, had some opportunity to, look at what was being used and see if they could find some inspiration, then that, spark was lit. And we'll see the next game in a second once we skip forward because we do have a lot of games to get through. But yeah, in this particular game, Gilbert Arenas, aka Markop, is getting up max hazards, 3 spikes and rocks. And Crystal's team also has Gyarados. And the synergy between Gyarados and Donphan is a thing of beauty. The type synergy, and with Intimidate plus Donphan's great physical bulk, then you are doing an amazing job of handling most physical attackers. And Donphan beautifully gets a spin off in the face of Ice Beam Swampert. There go the spikes, and Fori is down. So, job beautifully done. It's even going to sacrifice itself to the Pert to keep rocks off. And if Pert just keeps spamming rocks, then, it'll get health back. But, and a beautifully timed switch by Crystal. Wow. But it's not about the specifics of this game. You just see how Donphan's reliable rapid spinning, funnily enough, in this game, you also had the other spinner, quote-unquote, Fortress, which has been deemed unreliable for a long, long time, close to a decade at this point, if not a decade fully. So it was pretty much just Starmie for a while. And people were so obsessed with spinning for some time that it was just... you can make a video on just this, maybe I will. That people were obsessed with Starmie because I think they got a taste of Starmie rapid spinning against Heatran with no anti-Starmie support, and they loved the feeling so much that suddenly they couldn't play with the rocks on their side of the field. And so every team had Starmie, and they would sacrifice their Starmie by turn 5. They would throw Starmies into each other and live T-Bolt by the skin of their teeth just to get a spin for 2 turns before Swampert came in and popped the rocks back up again. And then the next metagame development was, I don't want to spin at all. And then, eventually Starmie came back. Of course, people realized, it is a good Pokemon. You don't over-rely on it to spin, things like that. But, people realized, man, there's so much possible if you could only spin. And that's really where Donphan comes in by offering an alternative to the mono Starmie world that we were living in. Because Fortress... was exclusive to, very, very specific stall teams. And even that, I never thought they were very good. But yeah, now it's the 29th, so 6 days after Crystal, and ABR is playing Star and bringing Donphan to, an important game. This is a tournament with money on the line, and Donphan is showing up. I think it's funny in a way how Donphan was so overlooked for so long, and then suddenly the tournament where it explodes is not, some side tournament where people can mess around with, cool stuff, funky stuff without repercussion. No, this really speaks for itself. The best players that were invited to this tournament brought Donphan, and with money, at stake. So that's how much they believed in it, and it really proved itself beautifully. In this game, you of course see Donphan has access to one of the most broken moves in the game, even pre-buff in Gen 6. It has knockoff. So, and this really starts leading us into Donphan's incredible move pool, because it's got Stab Earthquake. Those of you who used to watch me ladder know I used to use Excal's fun team a lot with Subroost Moltres. And that team had Donphan and Fortress, but that was more, double spin. You can't rely on just Donphan, you can't rely on just Fortress. And Donphan used Magnitude there because the potential, it had a lot of power points. and it had a potential for bigger damage than Earthquake. But overall, you realize Donphan has higher attack than Swampert by a lot, and Swampert already and Hippowdon. Actually, Donphan has base 120 attack, so that uninvested stab EQ really stings. And with that, then you put a ton of pressure on things like Clefable, and you have actually a decently powered Ice Shard against Dragonite, Flygon, offensive Gliscor. So with that, then I'm sorry, I got distracted by the game at hand, and I was like, does Donphan have something to do with this? Yeah, so you have EQ, you have Spin, you have the ability to enter against T-Tar and Jirachi. I mean, heck, as far as spinning goes, the fact you're immune to Scarf Rotom's Thunderbolt means you can switch into a very common spin blocker, arguably the most common spin blocker, the common form of the most common spin blocker in Scarf form. You could switch into that T-Bolt and chase it out. Starmie can't do that, so, and you'll just spam spin against it. So, in this battle, we see Donphan switching into Clef, spinning, and then chunking it for over half with an EQ. Beautiful stuff. Yeah, so you've got those amazing traits. You've got Protect if you think, its bulk isn't quite that, and its bulk really is quite that. I'm still waiting for people to start using Spidef on it, so Flygon's Draco Meteor bounces off a la Spidef Hippowdon. Because its natural physical bulk is so good, and its natural attack is so good. You really have a lot of flexibility. That's the thing with Donphan. It has so much flexibility in what it can do. And EV-wise and move pool-wise, you can run Adamant on it if you really want. That first game, Heist used Head Smash, of course, because immense power, but you don't have to do that. You can really, and we're going to see just how beautiful its move pool is. I mean, I mentioned Ice Shard. What an incredible move for a support Pokemon. I mean, you've got the pure ground typing, which makes it so excellent defensively, with that great bulk and that great attack. And then you've got priority on it. I know it's, unstab 40 BP, but just priority in general is incredible. As we see ABR also running a Dragonite Gyarados team. So then in this battle, April 30th, still round 1. So round 1, and we're going to see our third Donphan. This isn't just like, ABR decided to experiment. Like Malekith, another long-established DPP player, brings Donphan, an important game. So the move pool on this thing is incredible. We haven't even mentioned Stealth Rock. This thing can very well be your Stealth Rocker. It switches. Does it switch into common Pokemon and pop the rocks up? Yeah, absolutely it does. With the Spidef investment, which I think is still underexplored, then you can switch into Zapdos and not really fear HP Ice that much. I'm not saying, wall it forever, but you don't really hurt it in return with most common sets. So yeah, pop up rocks, use it to take the spin, take advantage for a spin. You don't even have to go like max Spidef or anything, I don't think. Anyway, so yeah, look at these moves: EQ, spin, knockoff, Ice Shard. Head Smash I think is a little much. Protect, it's obviously an incredible user of, because any ground type can use Protect beautifully. And the synergy, my god, like with Gyarados, there used to be these stall teams with Gyarados and Hitmontop, and they also resisted each other's weaknesses beautifully. Or mostly Hitmontop switching to Rock for Gyara. And Gyara wasn't really switching into Psychic moves aimed at it. But together, they had the dual Intimidate. So with dual Intimidate and Hitmontop having Foresight Rapid Spin for Gyara, then you had Rest Talk Gyarados with incredible longevity. Now, Donphan does not have Intimidate, but unlike Hitmontop, it heals in Sand. And people are crazy about Gyarados nowadays more than ever. And it's like, how can I best support this monster that some people call broken, for slight exaggeration? And you realize, hey, Donphan does a really good job. No, it doesn't Intimidate, but you don't need the dual Intimidate when Donphan is so physically bulky and heals in Sand. And if you really want, Donphan can also Odor Sleuth to get the guaranteed spin, a la Foresight Hitmontop. I think that's a bit overdoing it, but I think it's also completely fine. So there's so many great sets it can run. Like this season of SPL, I was constantly, borderline every week, I was making teams and trying to use EQ, Spin, Protect, Knockoff. Just all the good moves. Yes, you can Ice Shard priority, you can Stealth Rock with it, all this other stuff, of course. But, you know, spin, obviously protect to maximize your ability to spin, and knock off because it's impactful against literally everything. So that's why that's my favorite Donphan set personally, but obviously you don't, it depends on your team and what you need. I was building teams around the desire to use this Donphan. So yeah, what's really interesting about Malekith's team here, by the way, is if you look at Heist's team, it's Gyarados' bulky offense. You know, this kind of team with Starmie, used before. With Crystal's team, it's like Paraspam, but with Donphan. So also balanced, bulky offense. Okay, ABR's team, you know, it's got a Fling Uxie to spread paralysis, even against the taunts of Azelf and Aerodactyl. And then you've got, you know, Jirachi, but Dragonite Gyarados, but this is still bulky offense. You know, Uxie as opposed to Azelf, bulky offense as opposed to hyper offense. Lots of switching around. But then with Malekith's team, you've got the Azelf lead, and you realize this actually works perfectly because, yes, it's a hyper offense team and wants to play very quickly. The Jirachi is Lumberry as opposed to, I think, did ABRs have leftovers or did it not show anything? It didn't get to show anything. I'm pretty sure it was leftovers on this team. But, yeah, with this, then you see a much more fast-paced team, and you realize, hey, Donphan, oh, this bulky Pokemon, no, it actually can work on hyper offense because, I'm not saying it's a wall breaker by any means, but it's not a passive blob either, you know, because of that great attack stat, because of how impactful its moves are. I mean, its Ice Shard lets it revenge kill DD Dragonite, almost like a choice card. I mean, look, it's not stab, you're going to have to weaken it a lot, obviously, but I think, does it come into Ice Shard here? No, it doesn't. It sacrifices. Oh, okay. Anyway, the details of this game aren't important. You just see the fact that it's being experimented with, and look what it can be. Look what it can be used on. Oh, he's trying to bait the explosion, which is why he sacrificed the Donphan. Anyway, so not the point of this one, but yeah, another one for Donphan, and then the final Donphan of round one. Sees Male using it on a kind of another bulky offense balance kind of team. So far we've seen Donphan supporting Gyarados, but what about that other monster, famously immortal, even in the face of its Stealth Rock weakness? Of course, Zapdos. So, yeah, you got some really interesting synergy here with Empoleon as the water and Donphan as the ground for a very unique team, but then T-Tar puts it together and just does a beautiful, beautiful job. Obviously paired with Wish Protect Jirachi, if that is Wish Protect, then you also have things, you also are able to heal it, you know, if you're really concerned with Donphan's longevity, but I think it does a great job with the Stealth Rock resistance, healing in sand, and just such great bulk into its targets. Here on this team, it is used as the Stealth Rocker, and it does a bang-up job. So, yes, that's basically it for this battle, I believe. Yeah, so here, look at this. Donphan switching into Jirachi. I mean, doesn't resist Iron Head, but it doesn't matter. It's so tanky that, you know, it is, like, I'm not saying, you know, you'll be shrugging Jirachi off from 40% without a problem, because Jirachi does Jirachi things, but from full health, it is a very good answer. You know, you're obviously not going to use Donphan as your only Jirachi answer. You don't use 5 Jirachi weak Pokemon plus Donphan and expect to be fine. But the fact that it can switch in repeatedly like this at good health, especially because you're going to stay at good health early on. You're going to look at it ice sharding that low health Latias that tried to pivot in. Beautiful. Look at how it can stay in on this Gyarados, and it doesn't. But oh, Milotic comes in, very cool. But it's crazy physically bulky. It rivals Gliscor's bulk, if I remember, because it's got a little less defense, but more HP. Like, so it's around Gliscor bulk, and Gliscor fully invested is of course crazy bulky. So yeah, this is like the third time it's switched into this Jirachi, and to be able to chase it out early game is beautiful, because then that means your more dedicated Jirachi answers are not under such pressure early on, because your other Jirachi answers, yes, they switch into Jirachi, but they also don't threaten to remove Stealth Rock, and Stealth Rock is such a major part of Jirachi's pressure. You know, you try to flinch out a team with your Jirachi without rocks up, and it's kind of like, okay, if you say so. But with rocks up, suddenly a lot of things get really uncomfortable real fast. So Donphan is incredible in that it switches into bulky Jirachi, and it threatens to remove Stealth Rock. And obviously, it doesn't do so well under Rotom. Well, Knockoff is beautiful, first of all. And second of all, you pursued it with T-Tar like other spinners do all the time. So, that very easy to support. Yeah. Now, I wanted to highlight Donphan's overall usage in the Jirachi Invitational, because that was just the first round where it was used 4 times. By the end of the tournament, it was used 14 times. It was used more than Roserade and Blissey. And those are good Pokemon. It was used more than Forretress. And again, I have to stress, before this tournament, it did not exist. It was one of those things where if you played DPP, yeah, Donphan could do some cool stuff. Would you bring it? No. So I really have to take credit. I have to give credit. I'm taking credit for 2012, but I have to give credit to Crystal for taking the plunge and showing everyone and inspiring everyone that to see that this is really good. It was used more than Celebi. Celebi had a renaissance in this tournament. People seeing, this is actually really good, and Donphan was used 5 times more. Now, I would never be so crude as to say, look at its win rate, look how good it is, but it was also successful, so I would not be so simplistic as to say, look at one, therefore it's good, but then you look at the games it's in, like the one we just watched with Mail, switching Donphan into Jirachi. Even if Mail had lost that game, however he had lost it, you see how incredibly useful that is, how much pressure Donphan was exerting in that game. Obviously with the assistance of its teammates. Donphan is not soloing teams on its own, but with very normal support, like a good balanced core and some wall breakers and some pursuit and all that, then maybe some Wish, then Donphan puts in a lot of work, specifically because you saw how it's winning games. You don't just see it won games the end, you see it helps you win games because it switches into Jirachi and Rapid Spins, for God's sake. Bulky Starmie can do that too, but it takes much more damage from Body Slam, doesn't heal in Sand, neutral to Stealth Rock, can get flinched out, but also you can just switch to T-Tar and pursuit it. So Donphan, laughs at the whole thing. Donphan switches into T-Tar. So, yeah, thing of beauty. And it's especially nice because Jirachi and T-Tar are both great Stealth Rockers. Now, with Donphan in the metagame, you gotta be careful that that these Pokemon don't adapt, because of course they can adapt to any spinner. But generally, you're not over relying on Donphan anyway. You shouldn't be. Most teams are not going to be supporting it with Moltres. I wanted to highlight that was round 1, but then in round 3, with fewer players, it was used more. This was amazing. In round 3, the lower bracket where people are trying to stay alive, Donphan was used 5 times, and I thought that was really, really something. Used more than Dragon. I know it's just 1 round, so low sample size, but I still thought that was impressive because these guys are trying to stay alive. We won't get into these replays because we're moving forward, but you can see Sakito running a really interesting. I really like this one actually. This was I think I've featured this in the before. Let me see if the other ones were worthwhile. Where are the other Donphans? I remember, ZF was running his Hail team with Donphan, which obviously is a great way to do it. Oipon here runs a very unusual team with a Slowbro and Donphan, but Dragonite's there. Tomahawk ran. I think he ran Mail's team, the Empoleon Milotic thing. Yeah, and have I overlooked one? I feel like I have. I definitely have. Oh, it was sitting right in front of me. ZF brought 2 Donphan Hail teams. So funny to see 2 Donphan in one series. But yeah, you see here. Well, all I did was Ice Shard. But yeah, for a Hail team, or for a team with Abomasnow, when one of your major threats is obviously T-Tar changing the weather, and you're trying to keep Stealth Rock off all the time, being able to switch into T-Tar and get Rock, and Jirachi obviously is a threat to Abomasnow as well. Switching into these two, although ideally, you know, the Jirachi is, you're not under Hail when you're dealing with Jirachi, because you've got, because you want, your lefties, you want that interaction to go down in sand. But still, you know, switching into T-Tar and getting them off. And obviously ZF's team here has 2 Stealth Rock weeks, and Zapdos supporting Abomasnow. But it works because you're like, Zapdos, Starmie, Abomasnow, how are you not stacking T-Tar weeks like crazy? And then you realize, oh my god, look what Donphan enables. It enables you to run Zapdos, which is so crazy good. It's like, oh, wouldn't you prefer something like Gliscor? And that doesn't even guarantee you against DD-Tar. But no, Donphan just shuts it down and enables such beautiful synergy like nothing else could. And of course, it has the support from not just Pursuit, but the double spin. Donphan, Starmie, excellent. You know, those like bulky offense teams, they could use Donphan and Starmie. And obviously, both of them don't even have to spin. You know, one can Stealth Rock, if it's Donphan, obviously, or you can run Specs Starmie and just unleash Specs Hydros and not worry about getting the spin off, as sometimes Specs Starmie can have an issue with, because, you know, you've got Donphan backing it up, you know. So I think that's really wonderful. So then ZF's other team here was some Hail cheese, so we won't get into that with this Frostlass Abomasnow, or Frostlass Abomasnow Mamoswine nonsense. But then Oipon's team with the CB Dragonite lead that just dropped the offensive Swampert, which was funny to see. But then Suicune Revenge kills it. A forgotten kind of DPP, where it's just offense trading. Yeah, great pivoting, and there's the Donphan chasing out Jirachi, getting up rocks, and, you know, joined by its UU compatriot Slowbro. Yeah, so another Machamp supporter, actually. Support. Yeah, see, this is why you gotta be careful, because this Jirachi is mixed, meaning Psychic does a fair chunk to it, and obviously Jirachi of the Psychic type, not Psychic, obviously it's Psychic type, but of, that likes to run Psychic moves, they can also run Grass Knot. But again, this is why I am championing Spit Out Donphan in this video. And obviously, you know, you turn the tables on something like Heatran big time. So, yeah, this battle with, we're just gonna skip ahead there. And, yeah, this team of Sakito, I love this game between Sakito and Gary, because they both had such great teams. But, Donphan Toxic, and now, Hippo Toxic, now Donphan just gonna ruin it. Look at that. Donphan U-turns, Jirachi U-turns out of Magnezone into Donphan. Look at, like, the way Donphan comes in and is so resilient to passive damage of Rocks and Sand and Pursuit, aka the engine fueling so much offensive progress of so many, you know, otherwise very aggressive teams. It is just such a defeating Pokemon to face in such situations, because you know it's almost impossible to stop it from spinning and in such situations, and to punish it. You know, with Starmie you might not be able to stop its spin, but you would punish it with something like Pursuit T-Tar, or I don't know, hitting it really hard, whereas Donphan just completely shutting things down in this situation. This is a really long game, so we're not going to get into it. But look at this. Now Donphan comes back in and sees his HP Fire. Does a lot for a neutral HP Fire, which again, if you can afford it, of course. If you can't, then obviously Max Defense Donphan is great. But look, now you've knocked off the Clefable, and you pressure... you don't want to take the knockoff yourself if you can help it. But the... now Clef is really pressured, so in this battle, Gary also brings the amazing Protect Toxic Metagross. But what was really beautiful about this team, that just really made me happy, was that one of the... Look at the supporting. It's like, oh, well, I don't see any Stealth Rock weeks on Sakito's team. And then you see Dragonite. Okay, oh, what's this Dragonite going to do? And you realize it's going to Heal Bell. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, you Toxic the Donphan? Never mind. So, I forget if I think it's DD Heal Bell, because it's a Mag Blast to remove Scarm, so yeah, there it is. So, the Protect Metagross is another favorite set of mine. I was making so many teams this year with Protect Donphan and Protect Metagross. Oh, I love them so much. And stupid best of one, yeah, there it is. There's the jab at it. Meant, I never had enough games, for me to use all the teams I wanted. Yeah, it's just such a what a Pokemon. So they synergize beautifully together. Toxic Protect Metagross with a knockoff Donphan support. Oh my god. Anyway, so yeah, I'm pretty sure the Calm Mind Clef actually goes kind of berserk here. It's Dragon Claw. It's DD Roost, right? Yeah, because it KO'd the Flygon there. Anyway, so yeah, this kind of team, I think this might be my favorite Donphan team that someone else has made. I think it's so beautiful. There's another contender though, which we're about to look at. Yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. Kind of team to inspire you to make your own. As Clefable goes full hero mode, my god. Yeah, so we see a Clef Sweep. Anyway, so that was Jirachi's Invitational from the... Oh, that was just another game I wanted to show. But now, that was 2023. This was May 15th, 2023 was this Sakito game. From that round 3 where suddenly Donphan had more use than in round 1, with fewer players. So, and with greater stakes, because in round 1, and it's a double elimination tournament, then, you have some leeway. So people are really, bringing it when they needed to. So now it's 2024, and Void here is using another really gorgeous team. This one was built by Osgood. This is another contender for my favorite Donphan team. And it's another balanced team, because that does tend to be where Donphan fits best. So after some classic Jirachi action... Good lord, what are we doing with this thing? And CB Tar. So CB Tar balance... a beautiful playstyle, of course, often anchored by Starmie, but hey, when you have Donphan, then you open yourself up to be able to run different kinds of supporting Pokemon in slots that would otherwise be compromised by having to deal with T-Tar in some way. So, for example, Zapdos, or in this case, as you see, again, this is another reason why I support some Spadef on Donphan. I mean, for the occasional Ice Beam T-Tar, although that's super rare now. But, I mean, even Fire Blast. Neutral Fire Blast doing 36% is crazy. So I think Sub-Spadef goes a long way, because it's one of those Pokemon where the special defense is so low that even like 40 EVs or something is really going to make a world of difference. So, yeah. But yes, you switch into T-Tar and you get the spin-off, and it is... a thing of beauty is a joy forever. So, I mean, this particular game is pretty ridiculous, but, yeah, you see that Earthquake doing so much to Suicune, my god. And, yeah, so there's a Jirachi freeze, see if it evens out. But yeah, now I think on this team it's Scarf Gyarados, which I think is such a cool set, and it's enabled beautifully by, and the Heatran Flinch too, my god. Enabled beautifully by Donphan, in a way that this team would not function without Donphan. I mean, it could theoretically, but it wouldn't be good. It would be really cutting some corners. And there's the mag, but to finish things off, yeah. So Scarf Gyara does indeed. Oh, it was a Hidden Power Jirachi. Yeah. Anyway, so this team was also really beautiful, and major props to Osgood for this one. And then that was SPL, so that was February 12th, 2024. Now we go to October 6th, 2024. I don't know who built this team that Crucify is using. It was originally someone else's, but I think he made some tweaks to it. And this game is significant because this was for Classic playoffs. And how there was CB Tar balance? Well, there's also Specs Heatran balance. I used to have a team I love with both of them. So, actually, I had several teams, but, a specific kind of balance team. And again, remember that Celebi Renaissance I mentioned? It's a beautiful partnership with Donphan as well. Great synergy. Celebi, Donphan, Gyarados really shutting down physical attackers just gorgeously. So, Donphan early switching into that CB Tar. Solon is also using a CB Tar balance team here. with a CB Tar doing less than half with superpower, which is roughly as strong as Crunch. So to take neutral Crunch that well, I mean, beautiful stuff. Anyway, so with Gara in conjunction with Donphan, I mean, the Donphan into Rhyperior act here makes me think of UU, which is nice, but what's really interesting here is that not only does Donphan completely shut this Rhyperior down at -1, and look at that beautiful synergy, like, yeah, Gara took a Rocks hit, but now it's taking -1 EQs from Rhyperior, which otherwise would threaten even its massive physical defensive hide, although we don't know the spread. EQ breaks the sub, and now he can spin on the Ice Punch. Beautiful. But what's really crazy here is that Solwyn decides to get out of there, and Crucify reveals Seed Bomb. So that's another wacky trick in Donphan's arsenal. Personally, I'm not so crazy about this. I think I would personally rather run Toxic, because, you know, EQ spin, Toxic Protect, or, you know, Toxic Knockoff, whatever. You can really do it all with Donphan. But I get the idea. I mean, talk about a Swampert lure. You know, it's obviously meant for that, not Rhyperior, but the benefit of, you know, Rhyperior is also very nice. But I think it also hits Starmie switch-ins harder. I mean, 10 BP harder than EQ, but, you know, harder is harder. Especially, I mean, that might be the difference that puts it into, at a certain range, that might put it into Ice Shard range. So, yeah, with this, obviously this team is so beautifully built to take on Rhyperior, and it's still a threat, but, yeah. So, Donphan coming in repeatedly here, even at low health on the Pursuit, I believe. Yeah, and takes a CB Pursuit and gets that spin off. And even leaves it with Ice Shard chip to, yeah, 9%. Yeah, that's closer to... Now it can't switch into Rocks twice anymore. That is a difference. Oh my god. So, beautiful, beautiful stuff. Donphan's performance here, and even, you know, besides the performance, because sometimes a Pokemon will not really have an amazing performance in a specific game, but it will, the fact that it enabled the team to be built that way is its own contribution. Obviously, Donphan put in major, major work in this, and now, you know, I think Donphan was really already established after Jirachi's tournament, where, you know, went from, you know, unused to, hey, this thing's actually really good. Like, I personally felt the light bulb go off in every, you know, knowledgeable DPP player's head, like, at the same time. As soon as that Crystal game popped up, like, oh, actually, she's completely right. You know, and then I remembered Heist, and I was like, you know what, Heist always. And then I remember myself, and I was like, you know what. Anyway, so props to, I think Crucify made some edits, so props to him and whoever built this original team. And then on the same day, in the same tournament, Classic Playoffs, then someone else brought Donphan, and it was Jabba the Griffin, and I forget who built the team he was using, but it was similar yet different, as this very, very close game, because if that roll went a different way with the Ice Punch, then Rhyperior beats the Paralyzed Heatran and T-Tar, so great game. Anyway, so in this game, Jabba is running Zapdos balance with Donphan. Now the game doesn't quite go so well because full para full para on the first attempt from Jirachi, and but here we see something different. Before we saw a lot of Gara, D-Knight, and we saw a lot of Zapdos, you know, maybe with the second spinner like on ZF's Hail team. But here we see Zapdos Gara. Now, I had a Zapdos Gara team a long time ago, but it was with Starmie. And it, of course, had the flaws associated with... I mean, I had Breloom to handle the T-Tar thing, so it was manageable, but it certainly doesn't shut T-Tar down as hard as Donphan, you know? I really, really like Donphan enabling... I mean, Gara's defensive profile is so good, Zapdos' defensive profile is so good, and when you enable both of them together, and you reliably spin for them, oh, it's gorgeous. If you could even fit a Starmie in there, I mean, then you're really trying to fit everything, but yeah. So this team didn't quite do so well against Fakes' team. Fakes using another Osgood team, actually, but yeah, it was struggling to hit Swampert, so I think some tweaks needed to be made there. But there was the big T-Tar and the big Specs Heatran, I think. Yeah, with CB Tar, actually. Yeah, CB Tar Specs Heatran. Oh, look at what Donphan enables on this team. Oh my god, it's gorgeous. Okay, well, Jirachi is crit pairing everything, and now it's trying to flinch us with... Jesus Christ. But yeah, well, that crit is oh, we got the spin-off. Anyway, but look at what Donphan is enabling. Zapdos and Gyarados on one team, Specs Heatran and CB Tar on one team. It's a thing of beauty. I mean, I think I would change some sets, so it would be more immediately threatening to something like Pert. But still, beautiful, beautiful stuff. Yeah. The Sleep Talk T-Wave Gyara is not something I'm particularly crazy about, but the idea behind the team is really, really beautiful. Anyway, so Gliscor is doing Gliscor stuff, fishing for Para. Doesn't get it. But Donphan doesn't quite finish it off with Ice Shard, but, you know, just having that move in general is good. So again, not about the specific performance, as mentioned before, and Gliscor sweep, but yes. So, again, Donphan being used. This was also October 6, 2024. I don't know which game was played first, but they were going to use this either way. So yeah, and now, today, in the last SPL, Donphan was... Let's go check what that usage was, actually. I did not pull that up before for some reason. Overall usage, here we go. But, like, again, usage is not the final story, because I wound up bringing Donphan a grand total of 0 times, but I wanted to bring it almost every week. And the reason I didn't bring it was not because I decided, no, Donphan sucks. It was because I was having choice paralysis, because I built a billion teams a week. And a lot of them had Donphan. They were really good. And you know what was absolutely nuts? Almost every week, I was like, man, I really should have brought Donphan. It would have been great. So, yeah, let's see where Donphan stands with the most recent iteration of... I don't remember seeing it that much. Donphan, four uses in SPL. Okay, that's not bad. Same as Blissey. Alright, that's a little lower than, but, you know, it almost could have been double this from me alone. So, yeah. Okay, so, I think that's basically everything I wanted to say. Donphan is the real deal, and I think we've really just begun to scratch the surface with this thing. I mean, I just realized it could run Roar, and I think it would be really good at it. I'm pretty sure it gets Roar. Yeah, of course it does. So it can imitate your other ground types and do things that they, you know, only dream of being able to do. So, yeah, Donphan is a wonderful, wonderful Pokemon. I am glad that it's finally getting its flowers. It has been, you know, I could have made this video after Jirachi's tournament, but, you know, by waiting this long, totally intentionally, then now we've gotten to see that it really is, yeah, it's awesome. Actually, no, while we're here, we might as well see if we can see it in the most popular pairings, what its most common partner is, if it does have one. Can you see? Oh no, you can't see this. Let me adjust the dimensions there. Yeah, these usage stats are incredible. Many thanks to Tikken, who assembles them. Yeah, so let's see. Okay, Donphan's most common partner, Latias. Okay, Latias and Jirachi. It's used with Latias and Jirachi 0.67% of the time. Okay, I can... The Latias thing, like, at first surprised me because, oh, it's not Stealth Rock weak. But then you realize there's a variety of Stealth Rock weak Pokemon I can support. You know, oh, I forgot! I totally forgot. I'm gonna pull up one more game from last year's SPL, not this year's, 2024, which was a gorgeous use of Donphan. And it was Kratos Mana, aka Anti, aka Bruno, using a really interesting, again, a Spectran balance team. Was it 2023? Okay, I guess it was SPL 2023. Oh my god, did I completely blank on this? And oh my god, I did. Okay, that's embarrassing. Okay. So I guess we have to... okay. So the history goes that it was... Oh my god, that's so annoying. I'm not redoing this video. I will put this in the pinned comment, though. I think this is the replay. Yes, okay. In this battle, Bruno uses a Donphan balance team, and I was thinking, oh, it can support Crobat, and then I was like, wait a second. And yeah, so major credit to him, because this was, again, February 24th, 2023. So this is pre-Jirachi's tournament, pre-Crystal. So, I mean, of course, a major credit to Crystal, of course, but this team was quite popular for a while, and major credit to Anti-Bruno for innovating it, and following in Heist's footsteps. So there's the Specs Heatran, and this team also had Milotic, yeah. Milotic, Crobat, Donphan, this pseudo UU team. Obviously Crobat is BL, but still. Yeah, beautiful stuff to see. Oh yeah, the overheat crit the Latias. But this is another team, Specs Heatran and CB Tar. This team really anticipated a lot, and I feel so bad that I forgot about it. How did it slip my mind? Well, okay, pinned comment. Yeah, so this. Oh, beautiful pursuing of the Tar there. But look at how Donphan switches in and heals off. Starmie could never. And I mean, even Fortress doesn't have this defensive profile because it runs like hell from Jirachi and a T-Tar fire coverage. And it's even Stealth Rock neutral. So, and its offensive output in return is nil. Its explosion thuds into everything that tries to answer it pretty much. And yeah, just Donphan so effortlessly, adopts the bulky ground archetype and then does incredible things with it, as we have seen. So, yeah, it even switches into, it helps play around mixed Flygon here by pivoting in, threatening with Ice Shard. Does it EQ on the switch? I surely must. No, okay. Yeah, Jirachi switching into Flygon because balanced. Yeah. So, Donphan just muscling its way through Jirachi and Flygon. The fact, we mentioned the Flygon checking earlier, but God, gorgeous stuff. Yeah, so Donphan sweeps this game. Okay, I guess it doesn't because Jirachi does stupid stuff, but, the way it tanked that Flygon beautifully, so now. Yeah. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one.